Why, hello there. Niiamah Ashong here, leader of the Trailblazer Oasis and the World Joy Trailblazers. Now, today, there's a thought that's been coming on to my mind around when we really think about being an outlier, when we really think about being a trailblazer and using our difference to make a difference. And the element that comes out here is really around the core of the mission, the motto, our mantra here, which is to be more you. And there's a distinction that I have around be more you versus be you. So, and a lot of times when I experience people and when I'm talking to people, the general consensus is just be you out there. Just go out there and be you. And honestly, that's a place that I had come from for a lot of my life. How can I just be me? And I realized with it that even as I say it right now, there was this heaviness that took place. This element of like, a wow, it's a lot of work to have to try and figure out how to just be me. B, there's a lot of almost disappointment, and this is the part where I like that really hurts me. I can feel it. Disappointment that I'm like, well, then who am I? I don't know who I am. Like, like, how can I be me if I don't know who I am? And then who am I to not know who I am? Like, it was this huge like spiral, and I found myself really getting caught in the heaviness of all that. What ended up freeing me was the one word, be more you, and the word more in particular, with the idea of what if I didn't have to be, what if I didn't know who I was at that moment? What if I didn't have to be that fully that in in perpetuity forever right then? And instead, I gave myself the micro purpose of every single day being 1% more me than I was. 1% is even a lot. 0.01% more me each and every day. Can I be 0.01% more me by making the decision to speak up in this one part of this conversation around something that is misaligned with my values and my truth? Can I be 0.1% more me in this current moment when people are asking, what do you want to eat for dinner? And I'm not trying to be polite, but I'm just being real. Can I be 0.1% more me? And it's interesting that this is coming up because in this distinction here, I was recently at an event. It was actually just 2 days ago. It was an uncommon dinner. And they asked about this question around what's your micro purpose? We have our larger purposes in the world, but what's your micro purpose? And it was put together by a client of mine. And it was really great to see her in their action, but it also gave me a chance to sit down and really piece back here. And I realized through it all, it's like at the end of the day, if every single one of us, as outliers, as trailblazers, as world changers, as world leaders, could be just a fraction of a percentage more of ourselves on a daily basis, the world as we know it would change. So I'm invite you to think about that for yourself. What is one way that you can be 0.1% more you tomorrow? Actually, why wait that long? More you today. And then we'll just see where that goes. And imagine for a minute what would happen if you were literally 0.1% more you every day for 365 days compounding upon itself. What would you, how would you show up in your world? What would be your impact in the world? And how would you be a leader? It's a fun question to play with. I'm really, really thrilled today because I get a chance to spend some time with someone who has actually called out a lot for me. He's helped me go on the 0.1% journey multiple times just in our conversations. And, he, the reason for this here is that the game that he has been playing and the game that he continues to play, it's something where I can look to my side along my own journey and see another peer that's going through his journey and knowing that we are all consistently growing together. So I'm really, really happy to invite and welcome Theran Washington into this conversation. Theran, I'm going to unmute you now. Would love to just thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to play full out. I'd love to just welcome you into this moment.
Man, I really thank you for inviting me here. When I hear the term playing full out, I just see myself as always being in that place. I never see myself coming halfway. You know, no matter what I might be going through, I always see myself. There's a seriousness about me when I connect with people. And it's always a seriousness of giving all of me to that person and absorbing all of them. It's like, you know, it's funny how this is, because I tend to, sometimes I think to myself, am I too serious with people? It kind of goes to my mind sometimes like that. Am I too serious?
I I get that. Like, Theran, you've been around me. Like, people use the word intense
Yes.
within about 5 minutes of meeting me, you know? And and the fun part is that, like, I had someone share with me, he's like, the word was intimidating. Someone came to me and said, you know, you are intimidated. And I was like, you want to see intimidating? I got up, I did a dance party, and I got the entire room to move. And I was talking to someone about, like, that interaction around the being intimidated. I'm like, can you believe that he said it? And look, as an African American male growing up in the US, I think the thing is, being intimidated it's a dangerous move, right? Because it makes people feel uncomfortable. If they feel uncomfortable, they feel unsafe. And if they feel unsafe, they call the cops. And if they call the cops, literally, I'm in a life or death situation, because, like, they got intimidated. It wasn't that I was even intimidating them. You know, there was no actions on my end. You know, so being intimidated was not a safe way to live. You know, and I remember going to someone and say, "Can you believe someone said I was intimidating?" And the guy came to me and he said, "Oh yeah, dude, like, you are intimidating as fuck." I was like, what? He's like, "Yeah, even your joy is intimidating. Even your joy is intimidating." And it was that element of seeing that, actually, even in the way that I'm able to express myself in the happier sides of things or in the joyful sides of things, I could be angry and joyful at the same time. I like that full expression, but, like, that can stay with us. So yeah, today we're going to have a serious conversation. I'm really serious about you, Theran. That's why you're here. But like, that seriousness might look like depth. It might look like stillness. It might look like us, like, laughing back and forth about something that doesn't even appear to be coaching, but I'm listening, not with just what you're saying, but I am hearing the things that aren't being said. I'm seeing the things that aren't being shown. So we can just know that, honestly, I go out a lot and I say, you'll hear me say, do you want to play? Because this thing is so serious to me that I feel like we need to sometimes add in some lightness in order to explore the heaviness, and the heaviness that much easier. So yeah, I get you, man.
Yeah.
Be as serious as you like to be. And however that manifests in this conversation and beyond, I know that it's in service of both of us here. So let's play with that. Does that feel good to you?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Theran, like, we're gonna really focus today on your inner journey, but because that's what we do here, right? We're really focused on seeing, like, we get the outer accomplishments that come on, but throughout accomplishing each of those things, oftentimes we go on an inner journey to become the person who could create those kinds of results, right? So I would love to just start off here as we get into really serving you today, by just hearing what your outer journey might look like to someone else. For someone who, like, who sees Theran and they're like, oh, this is Theran. Like, tell us about some of your accomplishments. Tell us about some of the ways that, you know, someone on the street might be thinking about you if they either didn't really know you or they just saw, like, your highlight reel.
Goodness gracious. When I hear that, what comes to mind is how I became King T. So as you see on the screen, it says Theran King T. Washington. I took on that persona so many years ago because of my professionalism in the dance world as a salsa dancer. It stuck with me. It seemed like that, in that name, and that part of my name seems to really resonate with the person that I've I guess you can say created myself to be. Like I built myself up to be. Not that I did it in an intent to be something that I'm not, but just by being the person who, I guess you could say, puts himself out there in ways of like, I have a heart for people. I feel as though it's my job to take care of people, right? To be there and to be a friend, to be a partner, to be a companion, to be a helper. So people see me. It's something how people see me. And you were mentioning how for some reason, there's an intimidation. I had one of my recent clients say to me, "You kind of remind me of my father. I'm intimidated by my father." And it really struck me by surprise. I don't see myself as being like I don't see myself as being intimidating because of the way I feel about the heart I have for people. But when people look at me, they see me as being intimidating. They see me as being intense. They see me as being a hero. They see me as being a perfectionist. They see me as being a provider. They see me as being a good friend. So it's like all these different personas that are put upon me by what people see on the outside of me. And I really I connect with all these different things because I know I can be intense. I know I can be intimidating. I know I can be a friend. I know I can be someone who is relied upon. I'm reliable, and someone who will put forth his best effort to make you even feel comfortable. And even the person who, if you don't feel comfortable, it's like, so what? That's your reality. That's what you have to deal with. But I'm going to still be myself. I'm going to still get my thoughts, my opinions, my expressions. I'm still going to get them out regardless of how you feel. Though I am someone who I look to be tactful because I do care about how people feel. But even though I care about how you feel, I feel as though I do myself and that person a misservice if I don't tell them what's on my mind. But always looking for ways to be tactful in my words and in my thoughts. But sometimes maybe the tact is not there. It's like, well, I just got to really get it out there because sometimes it may need to just come full force. And so I live with that, so I just take that on.
It's one of the things that I really enjoy about you, though, Theran. And it's not, and I don't. The word is not necessarily tact for me, right? I don't experience it, but I feel like you're someone who's willing to speak your truth. You're willing to be straightforward. You know how to deliver a message in a way that someone can actually receive you, but it isn't necessarily. It doesn't mean that the message is easy to receive. It doesn't mean that it's let me rephrase it. Right. It doesn't mean that the message is pleasant to receive, right? But you're able to provide that and make sure that people can actually hear you. And I think that that's actually it's a really big skill because there are a lot of people I talk to who, especially as outliers, as people who think about things differently than others, right? It's one of those things. Part of it has come from like we're a bit outside of the system. So we see the system. It's like a fish that's flown into the air, and it's like, oh, there's water. Like there's this thing that we've been in. Like they jump out and they get a chance to see it. And sometimes it's hard to be able to really. It's one thing to be able to see something, but it's another thing to be able to be in conversation in a way that other people can actually receive what it is that you're putting out there. And I think that is something that you do really well. And so I want to just acknowledge that here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm curious here, just to almost get like a visual of this here. If there was a montage of your life, and I think using King T as a starting point, to kind of see if there was a montage of your life and someone was like what would they see? Like, what? Tell us about some of the things that you've done. Tell us about some of your accomplishments. I'd love to kind of go through. I know you've had a long history as an entrepreneur and some of the fun things that you've done as King T, and I'd love to see how that has continued to evolve as Theran now. In some of the work that you're doing, but just so we can get a kind of a picture of like I'm going to call it almost like the surface level parts of you, the parts that people would see on the surface, or the things about you on there. I'd love to just like get a little bit of your journey from that perspective, and then we'll dive in a lot deeper because that's where we want to play.
Hmm. I'm just so humbled, man. It's a trip how it's tough for me to even talk about accomplishments for myself, because I'm so into focusing on my concern is other people that they're accomplishing and growing and developing. Goodness gracious!
I acknowledge
it's funny how
I acknowledge that this is not easy. It's interesting. It's like partially a gift, and then also partially the work. I used to there's a part of the conversation where I'd be like, now let's shift into service. I'm like, oh no, we've been doing service this whole time. Yeah. It's I will let you know it is a service to me and to anyone else to be able to hear about like what it is that you've done on the outside. Because the reason for this here is like oftentimes we see how people, we both have the same mentor, Rich Liffen. We see how people look on the outside, but we don't, and we compare how they look on the outside to how we feel on the inside. We often compare how others look on the outside to how we feel on the inside. And this is a place to give us a chance to explore the feeling on the inside. And I'd love to give us a chance to see what you might look like on the outside. I know from like if you wouldn't mind giving us the gift of hearing more about your accomplishments throughout your journey, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I began my entrepreneurship at the age of 22, so over 30 years now being an entrepreneur. Actually, me stepping into that role was something that was, in a way, it was kind of forced upon me. It was like accidental entrepreneurship. Because I had a newborn at the time, taking care of my newborn, the baby's mom, and I just lost a job I had of, I think it was about 3 years I had that job. And I came in contact with an older gentleman who felt the need to have a conversation with me about life. And I was thankful that I had the openness to listen to an older gentleman, to listen to somebody. I've always been that way. I've always opened my mind up to just listen to people when they talk. So he told me about his journey as an entrepreneur, and he said something very profound to me, which was, why don't you work for yourself? Because I had no idea I could even do that. I couldn't even fathom the thought that it was possible for me. At the time, I was living in the ghetto, right? A straight hood, right? Gangs and prostitutes and shootings everywhere. So for me to believe that I could actually step out of that and take charge of my life, to do my own thing, to be my own independent manager, it couldn't even fathom the thought. So by this gentleman just saying these words to me, why don't you work for yourself? It was mind blowing. So my journey began. I said, you know what? I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm thankful that he gave me the story of his life. He really opened himself up to me and took me on a journey in his life, which I believe gave me the strength to just go out and do it on my own. Right. So that's just a blessing of a young person listening to someone who has more life experience, because anything can come from that. Yeah. So from there, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm curious what came from it. That's like, I'm with you. I'm okay. Like, all right, I'm in.
Okay. So from there, this business I had for 11 years. I was incorporated. I had 4 employees. I didn't do a good job of holding on to my employees and teaching them. I didn't know what to do. I was getting so much business, and I had friends and family who needed work. And I was like, hey, I'll hire you. I don't know if I trained them properly. I don't know
what was the business
as my leadership is concerned. A pest control business. right? So I just saw myself just opening a doorway for other people who I knew who could use my help. But I don't believe I was a leader of others at the time. When I look back on it, I don't believe that I knew really how to train someone to do what I've done. I was just kind of, I know I've been that kind of guy where just throw them in the pool and they'll swim, right? Just get in there and do it. So these employees, one after another, came and left. They didn't stay with me that long. And I think from that, I started to feel a little, I don't know, uneasy about what I was doing. Like maybe I'm not the one who could actually have a full-fledged business with employees. So it kind of took me down a couple pegs. And also at the same time, I felt as though it wasn't the business for me. So after about 7 years, I started to actually my business started going down. After 9 years, I was really getting close to like getting out of that business. I lost a lot of customers. So should I say pretty much gave up a lot of customers. My enthusiasm wasn't there. I was just basically still in the game to take care of my family. So from there, I went on to search for something else. Like, what do I want to do? I was always into fitness. So I became a personal trainer.
Before we get into that, would you mind really quickly? Because I feel like I'm like, wow, like just being able to see your story here is just really, really great. So you had worked here, you worked for 7 years, you had been building up this business, you had been taking on different people, you've been seeing that like from an employee perspective, like your employees were leaving and you were questioning your leadership in that moment. And then it seemed like you fell out of, I don't know if you ever were really in love with that specific type of industry, but it definitely seemed like you fell out of love with the industry in year 7. And then there's like this 2-year gap where he's like, and I hung on. So, and then you got to year 9, right? I'm a little curious here, because there's a lot of transition and inflection points. Like when you decided to leave that behind, like what was going on at that time, especially in like the year 7 until the time you decided to go into fitness there. Like I'm really curious about like what was happening internally during that time there that, yeah, for you at that point.
You want to really take me back into my mind, don't you?
Okay. Yeah. If it's not present, like that's a while ago. So we can keep moving forward. I recognize. I'm like, is there going to be? No. Because I'm actually really curious about what's happening for you right now. But like as we go through, I might just kind of pause in a little bit and just like kind of zoom in and see like where some of these are. But keep going. So then you decided to do this fitness training. And what we'll do here is that why don't you give me some of the highlights along the way? So like you're a fitness trainer, like how did that business like grow, so on and so forth. And if we need to take another time to like really, really, really slow down, then we'll go and do that another time too. All right.
Okay. Well, I give you it was a big shift in my life. In 1997 was a big shift, one of my biggest shifts that actually set me up to live. I've been having a really good life for the past 22 years because of that shift in my life, that time that things they went chaotic, but it actually brought in some focus and stability, and it really set me on the right track. That out of that chaos came tranquility, came a blessing.
Can you take us to the moment of that shift? Like, tell us what was going on there. I'd love to hear more.
Okay. I was actually, so that business I told you about, the pest control business, I was actually at a place where it was like the 11th year. I had like 5 clients there, but I was starting my personal training business, which I had that for several months. I'm in Philadelphia, and I was really enjoying what I was doing, like just the whole idea of being in the gym and working out and talking with people. I tried my darndest, a few different fitness clubs to get clientele, to build my clientele. And I never got more than 3 people at a time. And it really puzzled me. So long story short, I ended up claiming bankruptcy, went on welfare to make sure my family can eat. And when I say that, to make sure my family can eat, there was a lie that was put in place there. I didn't need to do that, but I believed that I should do that. Instead of really stepping into, I guess you could say, being the provider, being, I consider myself to be a smart individual, but I got lazy, I got frustrated, I not depressed, but it was like my soul was being stripped away because I couldn't produce much. And my circle of people were all people who never strived for greatness. They were actually, everybody that was in my life was just from poor to mediocre. So I never had strong figures in my life that entire time. I was like doing the best out of everybody I knew. And that didn't really say much, right, at the time. So, like I said, claimed bankruptcy, was on welfare, utilities kept getting turned off. So what happened was one day in 1997, sheriffs came and knocked on my door and told me I had 2 months to get out. Me, my wife, and 3 small children. One was an infant. That, I would have to say, was one of the greatest moments in my life. Because that was one of those smack. It's like, what are you doing? No, what the hell are you doing? Who are you to allow yourself to act in this way, that you would actually, the person that you are, you would actually allow yourself to be taken down so far and take your family with you? Who the hell are you? So yeah, I heard it, right? I heard that message.
I can feel that in this moment right here. Just like,
good.
Yeah.
So I heard that message, and I've had the dream to come to LA. I was living in Philadelphia. I had the dream to come to LA anyway to start a new life, but I was kind of just procrastinating. I was like, well, I'll wait until I get enough money. A year passed. So here I am still waiting. Sheriff knocked on my door and said, you got 2 months to get out. And I said, okay, what do I do? So I went to my wife at the time and I said, either we could just try to find a place to live here in Philadelphia, or we just find a way to get to LA. I had $0, but I made it to LA because I was so determined. I was so convinced that Los Angeles was really the place for me to develop into the man and into the provider, into the business owner that I want to be. I was so convinced of that what came to me was sell everything you got so you can make your way out there. So what I did, I took something that seemed to be impossible. How could you actually, you have $0, you're being put out, you're in bankruptcy, but yet you're going to go to a foreign place where you have no job, no home, no car, you don't know anybody really. I had family who lived here, but they were an hour and a half away from where I was going to be anyway, so we didn't really, and I really don't communicate with them anyway. But you want to take your up and root yourself, you and your family, and move there, a place you don't know anything about, and you have nothing. How are you going to do that? And I said, it's not about how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I just had this powerful, like a spiritual awakening, like, you're just going to do it. I said, sell a car, sell all the furniture, jewelry, whatever I got, sell it, get plane tickets, me and my wife, the infant. I left my 2 sons in Philadelphia with their grandmother so I could make a way out here first. And I remember being on the plane, flying over here and saying to myself, I will never allow myself to live like that again. And I stuck. It's like because I said those words, Niiamah, because I said those words, it was, it's like I had to say it out loud. I had to say those words because it became ingrained in me, became who I was meant to be. It was like this shift that just took place in my entire being because I spoke those words. And I remember getting off the plane. Okay, what do I do now? I got a wife and infant with me. Okay, find a roof, find security. Okay, we need a roof, get a motel. We need a car to get around. I got to find a job. Okay, boom. So I'm in a motel, renting a room, renting a rent-a-car, and out there looking for work. Finally found some work at a gym as a sales rep, which I did not want to be. But the places I went to start my own personal training business, they all said I needed money up front. And I didn't even have the money up front. I'm like, I got to take care of my family, right? So I can't give you guys money. I need everything I got to take care of my family. So I took a job as a salesman. Here again, once again, there was a lie there. There was a lie there, Niiamah. What do you mean you're just going to accept second? Or something that you don't want. You're going to start this all over again? You're going to step into something that you don't want because you don't have the balls to just step up and go after what you want. And I felt that in my spirit, but I felt this fear, like I got to play it safe. So let me take this job at a fitness club, be a sales rep, because I got to play it safe. So I'm repeating like my past behavior, right? Just not thinking that highly of myself. And I remember about one of the fitness clubs I visited who told me I needed the money. I knew I wanted to be there. I wanted to develop there. And the manager said, well, do you have the money? Got to pay rent for your space? I said, no. He said, when you get the money, come back. I remember a month passed. I had $12 on my credit card, no cash, in a motel and a rent-a-car. And I remember I said to myself, I got the paycheck. I finally got a paycheck from this place, like $236. That's not going to take care of me and my family. I got a wife, infant, got to send money back home to my 2 sons. I can't get an apartment. I can't buy a car. $236 every 2 weeks. I can't live off of that. Another blessing. Because what it got me to do was it said, you either all in or you out, or you all out. There is no middle ground. You either all in or all out. What do you want? I said, I want to work at that place. And something said, go get it. So I went back to that fitness club that I really wanted to start my business at. Saw the manager again. He said, I remember you about a month ago. Did you get the money? I said, no, I don't have the money. I got $12 in my credit card. I got a wife and infant in a motel. I got to rent a car. I got 2 sons at home. I don't know where I'm gonna get my next meal. I need somebody to give me a chance. I want to work here. I need help. I mean, I practically begged this man. He said, I'll let you start here. You got 30 days to get there, get my rent. If not, you have to go. And what it showed me was, if you want to hold on to your pride and ego, it ain't worth a damn. Go out and get what you want. I don't care. You beg, I don't care. Because of that, I've had 22 years now of living a really good life because I opened myself up fully. I let myself be completely vulnerable to another human being. That's when he gave me a chance. The very next day, when he gave me that chance, I came in the next day, hustled my butt off. I had his rent in full. Bam, for the whole month. Here you go. I got it the very first day. 2 months later, I was the highest paid trainer in that place. My business was making more money than trainers were there for 5, 10 years, and I'm making more money than them. So I just continued that journey. And then I found my next love, which was at that same fitness club, I took a salsa dancing class, fell in love with it, and I came up with another idea to start salsa aerobics. So I opened up
pause
salsa
really quickly, right?
Yeah,
Because
go ahead. Go for it.
so
Uh-huh.
I realized as we're talking, I'm like, this is the work, this is the coaching here, like letting you share your story, like, and it's awesome. So please, like we're going there, right? We're just gonna let that happen, right? And
Okay.
encourage it, and every once in a while, I just want to like pause in there, yeah, hydrate here, right? And there's a few different reasons for this, right? Like as I'm listening to your story, I'm like, there, this is a story that people don't really get a chance to hear, right? Your story is a chance, like it speaks to some realness that a lot of people like don't get a chance to really hear. And so I just really I appreciate you bringing all, like really being fully into this conversation. You came
Mhm.
in, so I'm hearing the elements of the vulnerability, and you're like and you, within one day you got the entire month's rent, and within 2 months you were the highest performer in there, right? I'm a little curious there. What was it that what was it that you were doing, that you were bringing, or that like just seeing that right there was the external jump. It was like I got the money, and then and I became the highest earner. And I'm really curious there, what was the internal shift that maybe not the internal shift, but what were you doing internally that allowed that to take place? How did you become the highest earner when the day before you had $12 to your name?
So I remember thinking, I don't want to repeat what I did back in Philadelphia. So I need to do the opposite. I remember thinking that because back in Philadelphia, when I was working my personal training business, I wasn't presenting myself fully to people in the facility. I was just kind of sitting back and waiting to see if people come to me. So when I went to this new place in LA, this is what the other trainers were doing. They were sitting back and let people come to them. But what I did was, like I said, I'm not going to do what I did back in Philly. I went to everybody and offered them to spend time with me. And I kept doing that. And I kept doing that. And I kept doing that. You want to spend some time? Free training. Let me work you out. Everybody. I also became hated by the top trainers in there as well because their clients were liking me as well. Like everybody was friendly with me because I was friendly with everybody, and they kept trying to get me put out of the facility as well.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
it was a
no.
lot of haters.
Well, let's like there's. I'm glad we slowed down in this here, right? Because there's this. I'm hearing a couple different things. One, like you were guided by the thought of I'm not going to repeat, and so I'm going to do the opposite. Like you're like I know what I did back then. I'm going to do something different now. So I'm hearing that's one thing that showed up, and you're building off that experience. The other thing I'm hearing is that like you were talking to everyone. You were, the way I describe it is like open versus closed, and like your energy was an open energy. The closed energy is more like, hey, you come to me. If you come to me and it works, then great. But it feels to me, at least from what you're describing, that you're like your energy was open. You're like, you don't need to be a client of mine, but anyone that walks in this door, I am talking to, and I'm going to serve them, and they're going to get an experience of me, and it's going to be a pleasant one, and they're going to like work out, and they're going to feel it, you know. And you just were doing the work with people and giving them a chance to experience you from that place. Am I getting that right there?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
there's an underlying like openness that just feels like it was a part of it. It's like okay, I'm open to this person, working with this person, regardless of if they will be a client of mine or not. I'm just gonna just work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another thing here, and I'm really glad that you brought this up. Like, and then you were hated by the top people in the thing. All of a sudden, it went from who am I to do this kind of thing to like, wait, who is he to be taking my clients to show up here and in 2 months just be doing what it is. And I think it's an important part to just kind of slow down and call out, because along our journeys of choosing to be great, choosing to be excellent, choosing to make an impact, choosing to be successful, choosing to stand out, whatever it is that we choose to do, a lot of times there's the fear that also comes along. Well, what if someone like actively dislikes me? What if someone hates me? I love, like, you use that word in this case. What if I lose people who are used to seeing me a certain way, or in me being successful, it disrupts their status quo? Because that's what was happening, right? You were changing the game for them in terms of what does actual success look like, And so I just want to I want to call that out, and I and just kind of honor your willingness to be with that. And just now I think we can move on to where the salsa parts come in, because there's a lot of fun there. But what was it like during that time, and like when you were feeling the outward like hatred from other people while you were also on your own like upper like exponential journey?
I actually, because it persisted for a few months, I started to regress back into the person that was from Philly. I started to shut down. I started to close myself in. I stopped being friendly to people because it was like 3 different months in a row, the manager was coming to me and saying, these other trainers are saying that you're not being fair, you're not being right, you're trying to steal everybody's clients. They kept doing this, which I never had a client that another trainer had, but yet this is what they were trying to do because they were just trying to really get me out of there. Even though I was paying my own rent, I didn't work for the company. Nobody did. We paid our own rent to hustle as hard as we wanted to hustle. So I got to a place within myself where I felt shut down because I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't understand it. So I remember that my business started to go down again. And I got scared. And I said, even though I still had clients, I was making money, I lost half of my clientele. And because of this fear I had and this regression I was going into, I sought out welfare again. So I did welfare for maybe 6 months, 8 months, something like that. And I remember getting to a place, the reason why I stopped after 6 or 8 months, I said, what the hell? No, that's not, you're going back to who you were before. That's not what you want. But it was also a blessing in disguise because that fitness club got shut down by the sheriffs because it was illegal. The owner was doing some illegal stuff there. So it was a blessing that happened because I felt myself started to feel hopeless again. And when that came about, I said, okay, this is the new start. I got to go somewhere else because this fitness club, sheriffs came, kicked everybody out, put the chains on the door. And I said, okay, what am I going to do now? So I went to another fitness club. And what I said was, I don't want to repeat what happened before. And it shifted me into a different, it got me to really use the mind that God gave me to reinvent myself through salsa. So that was a funny thing. Even though I brought the clients I brought them over to the new fitness club, but I said, I want to reinvent myself. I want to do something different. So I went to that fitness club and I said, hey, I want to start something here called salsa aerobics. It's never been done. I was just making up something. I just made it up. Salsa aerobics. I don't know what the hell it was. All I knew was I knew how to dance salsa, and I wanted to do something that nobody was doing so that nobody could hate on me. That's what I remember. I won't have any competition, nobody hating on me or nothing. The funny thing with that is it blew up so big that I put my salsa aerobics in maybe 15 or more clubs throughout LA. So now I became known as the salsa aerobic guy in LA. And from there, because a few of the fitness clubs were actually in Beverly Hills area, Beverly Hills, Palisades, Malibu, where it's nothing but wealth. And because of that, I was connected to wealthy people, entertainers. Like, it tripped me out. Sugar Ray Leonard was taking my class, and other actors, well-known actors, were coming and taking my classes as well. And next thing you know, here it is. I'm getting invited to different A-class parties and They wanted me to entertain there for them. I got hired to be on movie sets and workout videos, which I never auditioned for. So that's another funny thing. When I moved to LA, I did what everybody does: get an agent and try to get into the movies. I went through a few of those different auditions. It went nothing. I said, I'm never doing that again. And when I got connected, when I reinvented myself to be put in this position where now I had people who were well-known actors calling out my name, King T, that's King T, and kids coming up to me asking for autographs. It's like, whoa, who is this person now? People call me up, hey, do you want to come be in this movie? Do you want to come be in this exercise video? And I'm like, what the? I was totally just like, who is this person? But I went with it because the only thing that was on my mind was I never want to go back to being poor again. So that's what kept me like, whatever anybody want me to do, I'll do it, whatever. I'll go anywhere, do anything, whatever. So I didn't want to go back to my old life. So and being an introvert, I really didn't care to do all that stuff I did. But I cared more about not going back to the way I used to live. So this is how I got the name King T. Is I was a performer as well. I had my own couple of dance companies I owned, and the Hispanic people couldn't say Theran, so they took my first letter T and they just said King T, Salsa King. Somebody just came up with that, and I said okay, and I took it. They gave it to me. I took it. Okay, Salsa King, King T, and it just stuck with me, and that's how I became King T. And so that was an exciting life, even though it was a life I didn't really want, because I'm not really big into putting myself out there like that. But for what I know now, if I knew then, because now how I see myself is being out there in that way because of my mission, which is my heart is for several different areas. One mainly is our youth, education for our youth, women in the political and corporate world and how they are not getting the recognition that they deserve, how women and children are still in this country being abused, being turned out, like used for sex slaves, people who are incarcerated, who are being treated like second-class citizens, or even worse, they're treated like animals. When they get out, it's hard for them to really return to society in a proper manner to where they could, grow and develop and be that strong figure for their family, really provide for themselves, and also be just a growing part of society, how they treated like second-class citizens. So these different areas my heart really go out to, the underdog of our society, people who just are not treated properly. And so I want to be that, you could say poster board, right? I want to be that figure that people will look at and say, he's the guy who will, if you are in this category, that he's the guy who will really help you through it. He'll connect you. He'll sit with you. He'll spend time with you. He'll open doors for you. So back then, when I was in the limelight, all I wanted to do was be by myself. Now I'm not in the limelight, and I want to be out there. So this is actually a mission of mine, to really be out there and get myself, in a way you could say renowned, but in a totally different way. So this is a journey for me to be that figure, to be in a way that poster board for people who are being treated unjustly, for people who, like I said, our youth, who they just need a much better educational system to be developed for them, whether public, parochial, whatever. But our system, educational system, is just, I don't believe it's serving them properly, helping them to really grow into well-educated, well-connected, in a community of adults who will be by each other's side and just be there for one another and help each other through, and just giving the best of that we can possibly give for one another. Yeah, so you heard a little bit about my mission there.
How does it feel right now to now that you've shared that part about your mission?
Oh, every time I talk about it, it fills me up. Yeah. It fills me up. Even though I want it now, at the same time, I know that everything has a time and place. It's that I want to hurry up and see these things happen, but I know that everything has a time and place. And I know that within me, there's still development taking place. There's still structure being put together. There's still education going on and learning going on for myself. And because of the mission, I stay very enthusiastic, very energized about me getting out, about me connecting with other people, and the learnings that I'm going through every day. One thing that I do believe in, that I study every day, is greatness. I've been doing that for quite a while now. Every day, I'm always studying greatness, studying people from our past, people from our present. Who are they? What made them that way? How did they become the awesome figure that they've become in the eyes of billions of people? How did they leave their legacy? I mean, what is that all about?
There's an element here,
and I see myself being that.
Yeah. Well, let's. Do you mind if I just reflect a little bit here and share some things with you?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I can feel myself wanting to be in a place. I'm deeply moved right now. I can feel it inside of me here, in my chest here. I'm like, this is the man on his mission, right here. And I want to acknowledge you for the level of visibility that you chose to come into this conversation with. Right. There was a like. You made it a point to share your story. Like, and I've known you, we've known each other for a while. We've had lots of conversations. I've known various parts of your story here, but really, like, there's like, what it's like to be an underdog. You really know what it's like to be an underdog, and to have gone through things to be able to get it. And this, like, that is your story. And it's really interesting because, like, what I got here was like, you're talking, this is my mission going forward. I'm going to reflect back a couple different things that was coming through for me. Like, this is my mission. And it's like, I really want to be out there doing it. I'm like, my friend, I'm not sure if you know it, but you were just doing it right now. There are people out there who I wouldn't be able to find there's someone that's going to watch this that is completely feels like an underdog. There's someone that's gonna watch this or listen to this and feel, well, there's no chance for me, because like, I don't, like, when I look at all the stories of the people who have impacted billions of lives out there, they all came from these types of families, and they went to these types of schools, and they had these things here. They started at a young age, they knew what was going on, so on and so forth. And like, you're right now sharing your story of like, I was on welfare twice, and you're like, and you're out there really creating something here. So I want to slow down and make sure that you're not missing the impact that you're having right now in this moment. You have moved me. There are people that I'm going to go out and I'm going to be sharing your story. I'm going to, like, you need to watch this video. There are people, as you were talking, that I'm like, I need to send this to them right here and now. So I want to just make sure that we are not, that that we don't put your mission of impact way out into the future until you see all these other things. Like, it is happening right now in this moment. And you created that. You created it from the way that you've been showing up. But like in this conversation, you'll see some of the other conversations I have. We don't go into story like this in the way that you have. But you stepped into this to share what was real for you, and to share, and oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like, you know what it's like to be an underdog. You know the pain of it. You go from being an underdog, you finally get your chance. You're out there, you're making money, and then everyone's working against you. And then what do you do then? Like, okay, well, you've seen what happens when that happens, and you shrink. And then you also see and you use that to create something. You said, I'm going to go out and be a maverick. I'm going to create something where no one else is doing it, because like, then I don't have to worry about anyone else coming on me. And like, it's so interesting because you hear the stories where like people talk about this stuff and they're like, I just had this great idea and I needed to get it out into the world. You're like, no, I just wanted to be free and safe. Something I can actually build that would be safe and stable for my, and it was, I'm just going to do this because no one else is doing it. No one else can touch that. And it took off. And it was interesting because that's when we started to speed up. And I really acknowledge you for like being someone who's willing to slow down in the parts that were uncomfortable. And every time things started to look like they were getting good, that's when like your story starts to speed up. You're like, then this happened and this happened, and I was at this go, and then all of a sudden Sugar Ray Leonard was dancing with me, and like that's what it, like I could feel that part being less comfortable than sharing the vulnerability of your story along the way. But I honor you for doing the part that most other people wouldn't do. Literally, I was sitting here, I was like, this is the coaching. Like, allowing this powerful man in front of me to share his story with a group of other people who feel like they are also underdogs in different ways, and to really let that out. There's more that I can share, but let me just check in with you first here. What's going on inside you? How do you feel when I in my sharing of that with you?
I feel calm, at peace. I guess you can kind of say vindicated for being the person that I am, and being the person, like coming from where I was to where I am now, like this lifestyle shift. Like there's a vindication there that even though I've gone through so many hard times, and I will say, being a Black man in America brought a ton of hard times my way. I was, incarcerated quite a few times because of the color of my skin. Even at the age of 50, I was put in jail, which I never imagined me being that age, and then I get put in jail because of what transpired between me and a white person, and they were the one who actually provoked everything that went on. It was just anyway. But still coming out of it with no animosity. The truth is the truth. I mean, life happens, and like I have no ill will against anyone because of who they are. I respect everyone for who they are and where they are in life. But yeah, just here, by you just opening, speaking, I feel like you speak so highly of me. It's good to have people speak highly of you. I mean, it's really good to have people recognize you for who you are, for your accomplishments, even recognize you for your faults, because I mean, it's a part of who you are. I mean, I'm not perfect, right? So yeah, I mean, hey, I want people to know that I'm not flawless. you know?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the game right now, right? To to because it's sorry. Let me just collect my thoughts again. You're moving me here, so I can feel like my energy is like shifting a lot of different ways. I say that's the game because because no one is flawless. We are all these wonderful diamonds out in the world, and it's like, oh, because we have a scratch here, we're like, oh, well, I guess we're not diamonds in the world, we're just rocks, you know. And other people are shining and they must be flawless, and they're like, well, you can see this one small sliver, But if you saw the back half of me, like in what's going on in my family life or how I made my money or whatever, like there's all this other stuff that's just scratched up and covered. Like even that gym, like there, it's like looks like it's going well, and then the sheriff comes in and closes it down because they're like there's some illicit things that are going on. So like you can't really tell. And I think that's one of the things I really just want to say. I feel honored in you sharing your story in this way because it's like we are all not flawless. We are all flawed, you know, and some scratches will stay with us forever. It doesn't mean that it takes away from our shine. And there's an element of you that really, really brings us to life. And you know, I like to be there at 50, and like that's. I'll honestly, like that's scary to me because there's a lot as an outlier, as a trailblazer myself. Like I'm speaking truth to power in a lot of different ways. And one of the things that I had to confront for myself was this feeling like one day I'm like, oh wow, I want to play on the level of Martin Luther King, of Nelson Mandela, so on and so forth. I really had to confront this thing because I'm someone I'm a black man that's been in a lot of white spaces, you know, a lot of spaces that weren't created for me. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do and I share what I share and I talk about what I talk about, because like there are people who are hearing things that wouldn't normally get a chance to hear it because of just because of the circles that I'm in. And one of the first questions I needed to answer for myself was, and it just kept showing up because it felt so scary there. And it felt so scary to really like start speaking my truth and to be honest and to not just be the joyful black guy, you know? I was like, am I willing to die for my cause? Am I willing to die for my cause? Because there are going to be some people out there that are really upset that I'm showing up in the way that I am. And it's like, it's not to say that I'm looking to be I'm choosing not to be a martyr, you know, but there's a level of like, it may not necessarily always like feel safe to be someone that is out there standing out. I really want to I want to just call that out and just like, yeah, just leave space for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me check in with you here. As one who's a champion for the underdogs, as one who's done that and many things in itself, I want to check in with you. We've been talking for a while. I am curious what's happening for you right now. I still have the capacity and space to spend time serving you with anything that's happening right now. But if it's the end of our conversation, we might just go ahead and create another conversation where we can get more into like more direct coaching and things like that. But I feel like you sharing this story and being able to be heard now and in the future has been service in and of itself. So I'd love to hear what it is that you're doing now. With like, yeah, I'd love to hear about that in this moment. And then I'll check in with you. It might be the time to do some coaching. It might be the time to actually set aside some time for us to do this again, and see how we can help take your mission to whatever the next levels of it need to be. I'm happy to do that. I am. It would it would fill me up to do that. I just want to make sure I'm not rushing the service just because we're on the call right now. But I do want to leave firstly with think about that. What is it that you are doing now? What is it like? How do people see you now?
What I put myself out there as, when I connect with people, and I'm really talking about like, say, potential clients and clients, but even so, just people who I feel drawn to, just in connection with, right? I made up, I made up a label for myself for who I am and what I do, and I call it Mind Scrambler. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, I've the way I've heard like Rich and other professionals talk about not having that label, right? Or that label of coach, right? Because I've tried that label of coach when I first began, and it didn't really sit well with people who I connected with. I've heard other professionals say that too. so I was still, you know, on this journey, which I'm always on the journey to see how to present myself. And I guess, flowing with for the past several months, this whole thing of, like I said, a mind scrambler. And what I do is my job is to ask specific questions in order to broaden a person's thought processes, to stimulate them in a way to question themselves, question their actions, their words, their thoughts, to be more like that voice that they hear, the back of their mind. If you want to call it a conscience, you can do that, but not allow them to live into what they say on the surface. So I kind of got attached to that. I kind of like that, scrambling people's thoughts. My mentor, he's not too crazy about it though. He just said, well, scrambling, well, what do you do after you scramble their thoughts? I'm like, okay. So, but I kind of like it though. I like the mind scramble. So I've been reaching out to, like, I've always been that person reaching out to people, and I've always been searching for ways on how to connect with more people, to service, been reaching out, connecting with people. And you know this of me as well, connecting with people to be in a peer group with, to share ideas, to help to support and stretch one another. So that's always continue. That's a continue journey for me. My studies are always consisting of learning about greatness, as I mentioned earlier. Working on different thoughts and ideas of how to continue to further my process of being that person I see myself, like I feel this inside of me as I continue to progress along my journey. It's more and more of me that's coming out to the surface, right? Like you mentioned earlier, learning how to be more and more of myself, because I know I have a lot to offer, but there's still like this hidden part, right? This certain, I don't know, I guess because of still living in the identity of my past, there's still like this, I don't know, with this weight or whatever you want to call it, pushing me down. And I'm always fighting against that to come to the surface, right? Because even though I can say, well, that's a lie, because that was what I was told, it's a part of me that I'm still fighting against. Like, I know I can do more and be more if I know this of myself. So I'm still, it could be a lifetime journey for me, always fighting against an opposition that was created inside of me. Who knows how long that may go on for, right? Sometimes it's a lifetime.
So can I ask you a question here around that?
Yeah.
Are you good with that here? Because
I'm
that
good, yeah.
is, to me, it could be a lifetime. It really could be a lifetime of just fighting against. And also for you, I don't know if that needs to be the case. I don't know if that needs to be the case. And what I like you said it, and then you said it again, and then you said it again. It was like fighting against. And I know that you're a boxer. I know that you're like, you have that there. So like, there's it's like, look, you know what it's like to fight. You were just sharing your story, and you're like, look, I needed a fight. Like there's I'm fighting, like it's there. And when I hear it right here is like that element of, it's that word fighting against. And when you talked about your mission, it was very different. In that one there, where you're like, I'm here for the underdogs of society, you're fighting for them. You're fighting for them there. And I find myself really curious if, like, up until this point in your life, you had to get success because you were fighting against the system. You're fighting against going back to where you've been. You're fighting against repeating things. And for where you are now, looking forward, do you have the space? Are you willing to start fighting for?
And I believe that's always who I am as well. Someone who fights for. And at the same time, my own shortcomings, my own doubts is what I continue, like there's a fight against the doubts that I may have about myself. You're not good enough. Okay, no, that's not true. I know that's a lie.
Yeah.
Right? You're not smart enough yet. Oh no, okay. I don't believe that. So it's still this struggle there.
Do you mind if I scramble your mind a little bit?
Go for it.
Because as we were talking here, I was like, I don't think this guy realizes that he scrambled my heart. Like there are multiple times where I said, I am moved. I don't even have the words, you know, like, and that's not something that comes up for me, you know. I allow it to happen and I recognize it when it does, right? But I'm like, hey, did you notice that you scrambled my heart there? That I thought you scrambled the entire flow of what I thought this conversation was going to be. You're a scrambler. Like it just is what you do. Right. And like, and there's this element here where I want to play with you here, where it's like, you know, there's the doubts and the quote unquote shortcomings and all that. Right. My invitation to you is to not fight against those doubts and shortcomings, but fight for better doubts and shortcomings. Fight for better doubts. I've been in a place right now where like, I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to live a problem-free life. My thing is that I don't want to have the same problems that I had before. I want to have better problems. Fight for better doubts. Not the same ones that you've had. Can I do this or not? Yeah. Like now it's, I doubt whether or not I can save 100,000 women from like sex slavery. I'm doubting whether or not I can like, you know, change the system of education for youth. Like if you're going to have doubts, if that's something that's there with you, then like, let's increase those doubts. Let's bring that up. I feel like I see you and I'm like, I don't want you to keep repeating the same doubts that have been there when you have a lot of evidence to show something different. And those same doubts are going to keep making you ask the same types of questions to yourself. And with those same types of questions, you're going to keep getting similar answers, and it's going to continue to reinforce. So right now, what if having doubts wasn't a bad thing? And instead of using it as something that I'm running away from, what if you started setting your targets toward doubts that would really like start pulling you from where you are toward that new thing?
I like that. I'm glad that you said that too. And I do feel pulled. Like just mentioning earlier, yeah, being a fighter. I'm someone who says, oh, I'm going to go talk to that person. No, I better not. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, now you're saying you better not? Go talk to that person. It's like that, I better not, is beginning to doubt myself, beginning to doubt the connection I can have with another human being, even though they're not interested in me right now, but yet I'm interested in going to have this connection. And the doubt starts to set in like, you better not, that's not right, he's a stranger, that'd be rude. But because of that, I challenge myself. Oh, really? Oh, you want to think that way? Oh, now you have to go. And I step into it because I guess you can say that when the doubt comes, I actually take on the challenge for me to go against that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, you're not going to hold me back. Oh, okay, just because.
And this is where I'm messing with you here, right? And like, you know me, I'm not easy to be with because I typically like we get to a certain place, you're like, do you see how far I've come already? And then you're pulling me up even more. Like that's, I think
I
you've
love it. I
experienced
love
me
it.
right that way, right? And I think
I love it.
what I'm getting here is like this is the first I'm hearing of your mission, right? And our conversations, your missions hasn't shown up here. And in hearing your story, like it's just so interwoven there. There are a ton of coaches out there, right? There are a ton of coaches, but like I know that there are some outliers in my community who are actually like an underdog version of an outlier, you know, and they've had to come they've had to come not at the average and show and like kind of stick out from there. They've had to come from adverse situations and be able to still be able to create success there. And there are people in my life where I'm like, oh, this person's going through an underdog situation. This person, like the odds are really, really stacked against them. Theran might be a great person for them to talk to, you know. So in this part here, like what it is for me is like fear's always with me. Fear's with me at all time. I'm afraid all the time. And there was a time, and we both have the same mentor, Rich Lippman. There was a time where I thought fear was bad, and I was like, I have to get rid of the fear first, and then I can go off and do stuff. And you might hear Rich talk about this, but he says like fear is his compass. He uses it as like if he feels the fear, then it probably means that he's moving in the right direction. I'm hearing something very similar with you in doubts. Like, you know, like doubt is part of it, right? And I want you to be able to remain in choice around doubt, like not just like have to like react because a doubt showed up. But the question here becomes, if doubt's going to show up regardless, then like let's not make it like little itty bitty doubts. Let's make it the doubts that like change the world, that bring you into that align you with your mission. The doubts that like aren't like, oh, can I do this on a random thing, but aren't actually moving like create like helping the underdogs of society. Instead, let's go find a way. And what if those doubts became your new baseline? What would change there? That's I love to leave. You don't have to answer that in this conversation, but I love to leave you with that question to live into. How can I upgrade my doubts? How can I fight for others in this case? Because you are a very strong person, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. You're like I'm seeing you out there. You know, the questions to my mind come. I'm like I'm like how many people get to hear your story, get to hear this side of the story? You know, how is that getting out in the world so that people who feel like they're underdogs but felt like they needed to present themselves a certain way can actually see you and see, oh, he will get me. He understands what's going on. He's the person that can actually help me move forward. And it may not be that they're underdogs coming off of like very, very bad times in life, but they might be underdogs for the next huge mission that they're taking on. Who are you to go do that? You know, I've had multiple failed businesses, and now I finally have a business that's working for me, and I want to go take on this next thing, but I feel like I'm the underdog in this situation. It doesn't necessarily mean that like you have a lot of space with it, but there's this element here around like when you're ready for it. The question of what doubts would you like to take on? What doubts would you gladly take on? That will help you because like there's just something there. Um, your mission inspires me, and I think that's what it is. I'm feeling very inspired in this conversation, and I don't need you to do anything more than what you're doing. I think that you just showing up and you sharing and you continue to live a life that you're living is already enough. And if you like, my thing is you're reading other people's stories of greatness. I'm like, are you letting other people read yours? Because you are living a life of greatness right now. And it's an important story. And it's one that most other people out there won't be able to see. They can't, they won't be able to relate to their other stories, but they get yours. To know that it might seem like everything, like there's a lot in there. And who you are as a caring, thoughtful, like just overall wholesome man is such a wonderful example. And at the end, also just in and of itself, another model of greatness. So I'll let you sit with that. I'm curious if there's anything. I'll let you sit with that. My curiosity continues to grow in this moment, but I want to make sure that I'm not pulling you any place or pushing you any place. But I'm going to put that carrot there and say, when you're ready for it, here goes some things that might be there, but you're doing everything that you need to do in this moment. I really acknowledge you for that. I really acknowledge you for what you do, and I'm so grateful for this conversation, because I'm like, okay, there's some things that are changing inside of me as we speak, and there are people whose lives are going to be changed as a result of this conversation.
Thank you.
So let's wrap up this conversation here. Is there anything else I can do to serve you before we leave?
At this moment, it would be not now.
Okay.
We spent a lot of time, and I got the family waiting for me.
Yeah, I got you on that.
But we could go for hours.
Yeah, we have. We have.
Hours.
Yeah. So yeah. So let me wrap this up and then just close it here. Theran, you've heard me acknowledge you here, but the game that you're playing is a unique game, and I'm grateful for you being one of the trailblazers out there who in sharing your story and in living your life is carving a path for others to start seeing more options and more opportunities for them. You are a North Star for a lot of others as they go through their journeys, and I really just honor you in the sense of you sharing your story and being here so fully here with us here. All right. Thank you very much. And to any of you out there,
Yeah, thank you.
absolutely. To any of you trailblazers out there that have a story, that have a mission, that like see the power of sharing where you actually are in your journey and what really got you here, and being able to slow down enough and to be gracious enough to share the gift of your story, and to get into the place of to really create a movement and allowing yourself to move others, to be moved yourself. I'm Niiamah Ashong. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the Trailblazer Oasis. We'll talk soon.